I had to wear a mask for the first time the other day.
I have to wear them every day.
Yeah.
Sucks.
I took my kid to the ER because he got stung by a bee in the face. His whole face swelled up. And it was weird, because like you can't comfort him. You can't like that face-to-face contact. You couldn't, it wasn't possible. I couldn't give him a kiss on his forehead. I couldn't like hold him and put his face down against, my neck. And it was weird. It was very strange.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah.
So, all right. Welcome to Free Markets Green Earth number 55. I'm Nicky P, here as always with my co-host, the illustrious Liberty Hippie himself, Mr. Ben. How are you doing there, Ben?
I'm doing quite well, Nicky. How are you doing?
I'm doing the same miserable I probably was the last time we recorded, probably a couple times before that, because Nicky doesn't do hot well.
Yeah, it's been warm, man. It's been warm. It's been like 100 degrees down here, 98, 99.
Warm is one thing. It's the humidity we've had up here has been just brutal.
Yeah.
So brutal.
Yep. Yeah.
So
It's I lived when we were in Vermont. You hated the gray days, because it was just so miserable. And down here, you hope for a little cloud cover, break it up, cool it down, give you some shade.
we haven't had any gray days. It's been fucking just sun beating down on you at all times, and it's still humid as shit. I don't even understand how. It don't make no sense.
I don't know. There's a water cycle that makes sense, I guess, right? Somewhere. Figure out the science.
So speaking of things that don't make sense and figuring out the science, we're going to talk today about books because I've been kind of in a frenzy of reading up on books. We've had a lot of people coming out with material specifically on the climate alarmism debunking side of things, and from hardcore lefties, as it would turn out. Apparently, like even amongst the left, not everyone is crazy as the what's that bastard's name, Michael Moores of the world. So last week I listened to Michael Shellenberger's Apocalypse Never, and it was fantastic. Loved it. Great sense of humor about him. Really seems to get the science, and he crossed pretty much every bridge you can expect someone to cross in trying to, dot his T's and cross his I's. So awesome book. You really should go and read it. And I was pumped because we have another one that came out roughly the same time. I think this one came out actually last week. And it is False Alarm by Bjorn Lomborg. And it's a frustrating book. And my frustration lies in the fact that the book itself, information-wise, is so good. God, it's everything we want it to be. But it does this thing that I keep seeing people of the left do. And it's alarming to me because it's showing exactly what their real religiosity is too. And it literally is to, worship of the state. And it's frustrating. Was it two years ago? I think I read Steven Pinker's book, Enlightenment Now. And it was an amazing book for the most part. The information on it is everything that people on our side want. Like, God, it just proves us right at every turn. Everything that we say would happen, man, the numbers are all right there. We're all geniuses. But then he'd finish or start the chapters with just these arbitrary assertions. But we all know we need government, so we got to, we all know we need regulation. Now, we all know we need these people interfering. We all know we need this, we need this, we need this. In the face of all of the evidence telling them, hey, this thing that you've been told has been terrible is now not only terrible, it's actually way better than you thought it was. And the less we have government getting in the way of that, the better it seems to be. I think we should just throw some government on top of it because that's what we do, is essentially how that book read.
What?
So
Yeah. Why? What is that? Is it just that indoctrination? Is it a fear of saying we don't need these things? Like, why?
I couldn't tell you. It really, really pissed me off reading that book. So I finished it, whatever. I shipped it back to Amazon, like via Audible, and then bought another book with that credit because that's how I roll. If I know I'm not ever gonna listen to it again, I'll just fucking ship it off and do it myself. So fast forward, to now, and I'm listening to this Bjorn Lomborg book. He had another book, by the way, that's on my list called Cool It. I'm pretty excited to get to. I've just been in a tear. I really want to try and absorb as much as I can on this, because the deeper you get into it, like, it's kind of crazy how you realize how fucking wrong everyone actually is. Like, wildly, wildly wrong in a lot of cases.
But it just keeps going. It just keeps pushing, right?
Well,
One
the thing
thing
is,
after the next. Yeah, it's
most
just
most
that
people don't
boulder.
most people don't know they're wrong because, like we talked about in our episode on, when we trust scientists again, the media really, really cherry picks very badly what it wants to say. And in most of the cases that we're talking about, like when we're looking at the actual what the IPCC says in so many of these instances, they're literally taking the worst assertions that could possibly come up with. Like, say everything that could possibly go wrong goes wrong, and human beings just kind of sit on our thumbs and watch it go wrong and do absolutely nothing, which is a 0% chance of happening. It's like, well, hey, we're sitting here, and instead of using any type of innovation, no, we're just gonna stop and just maybe hit the gas a little harder. Like that,
Is that is
that
that
kind of thing.
is that human nature to just like assume the worst? Like,
No, and that's the thing. Like, they paint the picture where they want us to believe that the problem is bad. That's why they think this whole thing it works the way it does. Is that everything they tell us actually belies what we can actually see. Like, we see the world not as bad as they want us to believe it is, and that's why we have such difficulty doing all their prescriptions for things. So
yeah, I mean, and there's if you did follow all their prescriptions, it'd be a nightmare of other problems that
well,
would
and that's
ensue.
exactly it. I mean, like, it's going to hurt the poorest, the worst, and it's going to be a bad thing. Shellenberger was very even-handed on it, and his point was, you don't need to scare the shit out of people to make them environmentalists and whatnot. You just show them pictures of polar bears and they'll
Have
want to
you
help them.
have any of them gotten into like the notion that these programs and this, if we do all the things that we're supposed to do, that it will hurt the poor people the most? That it'll
Oh,
really affect the
absolutely.
bottom tier. Do that?
No, absolutely. Both of them address the fact that it will absolutely fuck over the poorest people the worst. Schellenberger, who is a big proponent of, what do you call it, nuclear energy, is very, very clear that, like, the only smart thing that we could possibly do is just make nuclear as much as we possibly can. And he goes through the science of it. And coincidentally, our good buddy Drake was pretty right on stuff.
Yeah.
When he was talking to us about the all the stuff that we didn't really know about with nuclear, he was pretty dead on. At least Schellenberger agrees with him. So we kind of did what we were gonna do there. So the thing is I'm reading this Bjorn book. If I didn't say, folks, false alarm, and it's basically a different version of Schellenberger's book. The problem is that you can tell that this guy, I guess it's almost like he's halfway there. Like, Schellenberger is kind of like full woke on things. This guy's maybe like half woke on things. because he was sitting there and he's telling you a pitch, he's telling you a story about what would be a good example from the book? Like, so he talks about like storms and stuff like that's a big thing, and he shows you exactly how they're cooking the books, so to speak, on it. It's like, oh, the storms are more destructive than they've ever been, and then is it? Well, that's not at all true. They cause more financial damage, but that doesn't have anything to do with the storm. The storms aren't worse.
Right.
It's just we've put more houses and more expensive houses in the path of where storms go. You know, a lot of that. Like it'll talk about sea level rise is going to displace 10 million people. It's like, well, that's bullshit because if that were going to happen, people would do what they've done in every place that are already below sea level and build dikes.
Mm.
And build houses to withstand that. That doesn't happen without human beings reacting to it. Yeah. We're not, not
going to happen overnight.
Yeah.
There's going to be time to figure it out.
And then like the idea that any of this happens by 20, like basically they're saying the world will end in 2030. It's like if you go to the projections, like if you did nothing by 2030, like it would still be 100 years before most of the effects did anything to us.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's one of those things. I imagine that the effects would take that long, and likewise, like if you didn't do anything, like the effects would take that. It's not. None of this is going to happen overnight, and there's plenty of time for human beings to react and to work with it. It's not like, I don't know.
Well, so the whole thing is, I'm reading this, I'm listening to it, and I'm just, he keeps going and he's going, man, he's just throwing things on the fire, but he feels the need to tell me at every turn how much he, but this is a big problem that we do need to deal with. Like, but you literally told me at every point in time, like things aren't as bad as they're trying to tell us. In fact, most of the cases, things that they warn us about are actually moving in the opposite direction. Then you tell me they're cooking the books on the numbers, and he at no point in the book, I don't know, I'm almost halfway through it, and he's yet to tell me why it's so bad. If you're telling me everything that they've warned us about isn't going to happen, or certainly not going to happen near as drastic as what is this thing that we're worried about? What is the huge problem? Why do we need to fix it? You're telling me that it makes the planet grow vegetables better. Like, you're telling me that we survive better in tropical climates. You're telling me a million things that this genuinely improves everyone's lives with. But we have to do something about it because it's terrible. And you never address why it's terrible.
Did he offer any solutions?
So far, the worst thing that he said about it is, well, it'll probably, cost about 0.002% of our gross GDP over the next 100 years. If, we didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like, after you've already told me we cook the books on how we do that accounting, and you're telling me it does basically nothing? So why is anyone freaking out about this? Why do we care at all? It's very frustrating. And if we have anyone listening, please tell me what I'm missing. What is this? Because I just want to tear my fucking hair out where we're at right now. Because I feel like I'm looking at a puzzle. I'm like, where's this missing piece? The thing that makes all this make sense. That makes all of this horrible fear mongering make sense.
It doesn't, and I don't think it. I don't know. I think when I was in college, I took a class in environmental philosophy. Or was it that one? I think that was the one. And the professor ended up being, he was kind of ancomy.
They generally are.
Yeah, if not like ancom, then he was pretty far left, but he was more on the libertarian side of things. And we had to read that one of his other books. I think it's Skeptical Environmentalist or Skeptical Environmentalism, something like that.
Is this that one that you've told me about in the past?
I think so, yeah. And like,
Yeah, we gotta read that. Doesn't he like live up here in Lorraine, like up by me?
I don't know. I
I
thought he was
remember
from like,
I remember that one guy you told me, like I looked him up online and he like I think he teaches at a community college up here where I'm at.
but like, it's the same sort of thing where I think the world we live in, no one believes any numbers, and you will find someone to support your side, like no matter what, you know. And so that approach, it's almost pandering. It's almost like fraudulent in this idea that like,
Well,
well,
but
if I
that's the
say
problem.
this, then maybe somebody will agree with me and they'll take my points, more to heart. They'll
But
listen
that's
to
the
what else I have to
problem,
say.
then. That's the problem. I used to think that. I thought that was the case. You're just finding people that are finding the numbers that you want to see. And the problem isn't that. The numbers are on our side.
Well,
They, all of the numbers, even the left's numbers that they use, are on our side. They're just lying about what they say. They're literally taking the worst case scenarios that the scientists themselves don't even believe are possible, but they have to put in there, and saying that that's what's going to happen. That's our most likely outcome, is this one that probably shouldn't even have been in the report.
but I'm not disagreeing with you, but I think like that's out there. If you were to tell like the average person that, they'd tell you off and call you crazy and be done with it, and no one would believe you. And part of that, is due to the media and the way they cook things up and hype things up and what they put out there and publish. And it's just, it is, if you don't agree with the narrative, if you don't, then you're crazy. And it's just the way that you're interpreting the numbers, and it doesn't matter how you interpret them. And if you are interpreting them correctly.
Well, so I was listening to Greenpeace co-founder Dr. Patrick Moore on Alex Epstein's show, Power Hour, the other day. And dude, it was like one mental bomb after another listening to that episode. He works for currently what is called goodness. I'm trying to find this here. The CO2. Oh, good lord! Why is it not in here? That's gonna be crazy. Oh well, I'll have to remove it when we actually get to it. But he belongs for like some CO2 Skeptics group that is been being lobbied to be banned off the internet. Like the left has tried to get them banned off Facebook, or they're not allowed to show any of their scientific findings. Mind you, it's a scientific organization; they're all scientists, and they're not allowed to show any of their stuff.
Well, that's exactly it. That's exactly it, though, right? Like, it doesn't matter what the science says. It doesn't matter what the numbers say. If they don't fit a predetermined narrative, if they don't fit what like people already believe and buy and wholeheartedly worship, then it doesn't matter. It could be written by Joseph Smith and they wouldn't believe it. Like it just, I don't know.
Yeah, like I said, it was just one mental bomb. Like things that I thought I was dead on about it, and I was like, really that even that like I'm given the benefit of the doubt and a lot of the stuff to this, the left in a lot of cases, and then he's just like, nope, bullshit, fuck that. It was dude, it was so frustrating, so very frustrating. I want to give them money now. It'll be in the show notes what his organization was, folks, because it was awesome.
I have to check that out.
I just want to go out and evangelize this shit, man. Like,
well, that's part of it. Like, and I like over the last 6 months, I think like I've really just all the nonsense on like a national scale like I'm done with it. I'm done with it. I don't care what it is. Like I don't know how to explain it. Like I'm done with it and I don't care anymore. And I'm gonna do my little thing here, and I'm gonna get to know the people around me, and I'm going to affect my community because that's all I can. Because the crazy is beyond crazy, and you can't do anything about it. It's so deep, it's so entrenched in everything we do. And I'm not talking about just the crazy left. I'm talking about the crazy right. Like it's there. Like, and
But yeah,
politics,
it
your
all
team has
terrifies
become a
me.
religion, and you're not going to change it. So affect your community.
Well, somebody's got to keep the information alive, man.
And that's
At the
it.
very
And
least, like we're here for the next round of people.
yeah, but just like that, right? Like somebody trying to get them banned off Facebook, or you see, places like Twitter, Discord pulling people off for certain things that they say that,
Are we
you
going
know,
through this again? I just was just editing you saying talking about it last episode.
but you know
Ben's
what I
it's
mean?
still on Ben's mind. He got booted off of Discord.
But that like it's beyond our control, like even the internet, what's published on the internet it's beyond our control,
It is.
and I don't know how you disseminate information when
Well,
it's being pulled. I don't
my
know how
problem
you,
my,
yeah.
my problem with just ignoring it, I guess, is that I mean, dude, what they want to do is so erroneous and so dangerous and so bad for the planet. Like, we can't just ignore it because the things they want to do are going to literally destroy the planet. Like, we're going to be living worse
Yeah.
than subsistence level farming because it's so bad.
I don't disagree with that. I don't know. I don't know how you change that, and I don't know that you can change it necessarily. Like I think the only thing that will happen is just, delay, put it off, push it out.
Well, I don't know. Like I said, I'm almost hopeful because I keep seeing it's been not one, but we had that Michael Moore video showing the fucking
Mm-hmm.
the errors of green, and yeah, he's what is it, a Machiavellian or fucking what's that guy? A Malthusian.
Yeah, there you
He's a Malthusian, and Malthusians suck. But they're what they are. So yeah, you have that, but we have these other people that are like saying, look, everything that we're talking about right now is complete insanity, and it doesn't even make sense with the science. You guys claim to be the ones for science, and then you're actually ignoring what the science says. Like
go.
you're allowing people that make policy dictate what we do as opposed to the science. And the fact that basically the left is at least there's canaries in the coal mine on the left that are starting to catch up with us.
And I think that's what's going to happen, right? It's not going to be. That's what it's going to take. People that are on that side are going to turn. That's what's going to happen, and that's how it's going to happen. But in the meantime, it's stalling. Crazies like AOC and the Green New Deal. It's doing that, and I think it's one of those things that like we can try and we can push, and we're trying and we're pushing, and you look at all the windmills and all the solar panels and all this stuff, and they're push 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 push, and it's amounted to nothing, and I think people are starting to realize that. I think it was pretty hopeful for a while that this could be something, and then I think people are realizing slowly that it's not. And I think that's all we can do is just hope that somebody on that side kind of figures it out. I don't know. It's disturbing either way you cut it.
No, man, I get you.
You're screwed either way, and hopefully, I think the nuclear thing will come around.
I mean,
I do
dude,
think that's something that'll
after
pop.
I've been listening to too many people that like the science is out, and I think Shellenberger basically just blames it on the fact that the people that hated the nuclear, basically there was a group of people that hated so much that nuclear weapons achieved what all the clamoring for peace never could. we're the most peaceful we've ever been on this planet, and it's because everyone has nukes that could blow the fuck out of each other at any point in time. World peace achieved by absolute fear.
Yeah. Well,
And
it's an interesting perspective.
and there's people that have an investment that really hate that. So
Fair
you know,
enough.
anything that touches on nuclear, they just kind of they
Well,
hate it because of that.
yeah, and it goes back to, like, you know, when you the average person that you you know, if you walk down the sidewalk and ask people what they thought about nuclear energy or what they knew about it, you know, you're going to hear nuclear waste, you're going to hear like 3 Mile Island, Fukushima, like all these things that are just one-offs, you know, not one-offs, but
Well,
like
more
the
than
things that
that,
are could be controlled, are handled.
well, more than that, Ben, the thing that I'm like Shellenberger was pointing out is when you really start digging into the numbers, as awful as they made you think those things were,
Mhm.
they kind of weren't all that bad.
Well, and that's it,
They're
right?
the
Like
worst things ever. Yeah, they kind of weren't that bad.
yeah, and that's what I mean, though, right? Like, and those are the things that you think of. Those are the things that are there, but even if you looked at them, they're not. There's big, you know, it's just a boogeyman. It's just a big boogeyman that's been hyped up and drummed up, and
Yeah.
that's what people know. And I think if people looked at nuclear now and actually looked at it, you know,
Well, as you
I
said,
don't want to.
everywhere that it's been removed from, energy has gotten worse.
Yeah,
Carbon's actually gone up because what they use in place of it,
imagine that.
none of it's green. So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, yeah, I wanted to get on today and just vent my frustrations with the fact that, like, oh my god, dude, it was so rough. Just it's every time I read a book and I'm like, and they're there, they're telling me the truth, and then I get to a point where they're just apparently just love the state so much that even if all the science says this is a bad idea, they're like, nope, we just got to do it because that's the way we do it.
That's I think a lot of that is just human nature, where people are generally speaking, I think people are just afraid, you know, and you want somebody to take care of you and hold your hand, and that's what the state is there for, you know, to make believe that they're holding your hand and they're going to look out for your best interest.
Something like that. So, well, if nothing else, folks, if you want to have some ammunition to throw at your friends that will say evil things about you and your hatred of the environment, grr, you evil baddie, I do recommend for sure Apocalypse Never by Michael Shellenberger. That book was fantastic, and he's got a good sense of humor about him too. Bjorn Lomborg's False Alarm is a little bit more of a challenge because his politics kind of suck really bad. Like everything he says in the book is just steeped in we need government policy to fix everything. It's just how he sees the world. Meanwhile, the science is telling him the many other things. So read both of them. They've got a lot of really good information, a lot of ammo for defense of your own positions, if that's something you're after.
Sounds good, man. I have to figure it out. I took Audible off my phone because I forgot it was there, and then I was getting charged, and it's like, wait a minute, I don't use this, so maybe I'll get back on it.
What do you mean you got charged? That just means you have to buy books.
Yeah, I know. I don't listen to them.
Oh, why not? What the hell do you do when
I
you're
don't
like out in the
know.
fields?
I listen to the birds.
Fuck those birds.
It's quiet. It's peaceful. That's the only time that I have any like quiet in my life.
In the words
outside.
of Tybalt, I believe it was in Romeo plus Juliet by Baz Luhrmann. Peace. I hate the word. As said by John Leguizamo.
If you say so. If you say so.
So, all right, folks, this has been episode number 55 of Free Market Screen Earth. Go check us out at freemarketscreenearth.com for the show notes and look up the books that we talked about today. Otherwise, go out, enjoy nature, be right.
Yes. See ya.